My estranged sister crashed our wedding, gave a nasty speech, and my husband dragged her out. Now my mom wants Maine to leave him. I, 27F, got married to my boyfriend of 7 years, Aaron, 27M, 4 days back. The wedding was great except for one part which was ruined by my mom, 52F, and my estranged sister, Monica, 25F. She had to be kicked out by Aaron after this speech that she made, and my mother is going crazy about it because she thinks that Aaron was somehow in the wrong here. So, for context, Monica and I haven't spoken in almost 4 years because of an incident that took place at a Thanksgiving dinner that my parents were hosting. She'd been hitting on and subtly trying to flirt with Aaron throughout the evening, but I had somehow ignored it because I didn't want to ruin my parents' Thanksgiving dinner. But then after dinner was done with and we were all just sitting around and chatting, Aaron came to me and told me that Monica was trying to come on to him and it was making him really uncomfortable. I lost my cool and confronted her in the living room, where everybody was sitting, and it turned into a huge thing. She told me that it was alright because if Aaron had a problem with it, then he would have told her, which he didn't. But that was just because he was a generally quiet person and didn't like confrontations, which is why he'd approached me to deal with the situation. Then she said that Aaron deserves better, and that's why she was hitting on him, because he should know what he deserves and not settle for me. My dad had to intervene and tell her that it was enough, so she got really annoyed and left. We hadn't seen or met each other since that day, which was a relief because Monica and I didn't really get along anyway. Ever since we were kids, she'd always been fiercely competitive, and even though I was older than her, she always tried to make me seem like the less competent and capable one. She was already my mother's favorite, but I guess she wanted to be my dad's favorite as well, and couldn't stand the fact that he treated us both equally. Our relationship got even worse when both of us were in high school, and by the time we graduated college, we were barely on speaking terms. We would meet on the holidays and would ignore each other there, but after that one incident, I decided that I wasn't going to be attending any events that she would be there at. So I would ask my dad if she would be attending, and if she was, then I wouldn't go, and if she wasn't, then I would. It was the perfect system, and it helped that my dad respected my boundaries. Unlike my mother, who always insisted that we patch things up despite how uncomfortable Aaron felt around her. Judging by that, I guess it's no surprise that she invited Monica to my wedding without even consulting with me first. I was pretty shocked when Monica showed up, and after the ceremony was over, I instantly confronted my mother about it. And she told me that Monica was the one who suggested it. Duh, of course she did, when she heard that I was getting married. So my mother thought that it'd be a good idea to invite her, and we could finally patch things up and get along as sisters. I told her that it was a terrible idea and I wanted her to leave, but my mother said that nothing bad could come out of this, which she was really wrong about. While we were talking, Monica grabbed a mic and started off with her speech. I froze in my spot, because I knew that she certainly wasn't going to say good things about me. It started off normally enough, where she made a toast to the new bride and groom, and then she started talking about this one incident from high school which she'd always held a grudge against me for. So in high school, when I was a senior and she was in her sophomore year, there'd been this guy in my grade. Chris was pretty much everybody's crush, but he and I were just really great friends, and of course, that led to a lot of people getting really mad at me for no reason. I knew Chris because he and I were in middle school together, but then he'd left for like 2 years because his dad had moved out of state, and now he was finally back and a lot more attractive than he used to be. I never thought of him as anything more than a friend, and neither did he, but in spite of that, people seemed to hate me. But nobody hated me as much as Monica seemed to. I knew that she had a thing for Chris and couldn't stand the fact that he was so close to me. So she went crazy and decided to sabotage our friendship by spreading a rumor that apparently he and I were secretly dating, and I'd even been bragging about it to her at home. That wasn't the case, and both Chris and I were aware of it. We also knew that this rumor was my sister's doing. So instead of giving in to her strategy to ruin our friendship, we decided to go along with it and started holding hands while strolling in the hallways and pretending that we were together, just so that Monica would feel jealous. We would even make a whole show out of it whenever she and her friends would walk past us, and the anger on her face is what we got a kick out of. It got to a point where everybody was in on the joke, and the plan had totally backfired, because now, people were making fun of Monica for spreading such insane rumors about us. And high school kids can be pretty nasty when they want to be. So one day when some kid was making fun of her for lying, she decided that she was going to confront me in the cafeteria and give everyone a show. That didn't turn out too well for her, because as soon as she approached me, Chris came to my defense and told her off. He told her that she had no right to come to me and bear at me for anything, because she was the one who'd started that stupid rumor just so we'd stop being friends. He called her crazy, insecure, and jealous, and Monica got so mad that she started cursing at him. The language that she used was so terrible that Chris actually had to walk away because the words that she was using were actually so filthy. I couldn't stand it either, and I told her to shut up, but she just went on swearing at us. So in the heat of the moment, I grabbed her by the hair and slapped her, It wasn't my proudest moment, and both of us ended up getting in trouble for it, but to this day she holds me responsible for ruining the next couple of years for her in high school, because everybody just remembered her due to that one incident. I graduated, but she still had to spend the next 2 years in high school with the same people who had witnessed her first getting told off by the hottest guy in her senior year and then getting slapped by her own older sister in front of everybody. It can't have been easy for her, but she brought it on herself, and I didn't think that it was my fault at all. But she narrated that entire incident in a way that made her seem like the victim, and I came off pretty badly in her version of the story. And then, in her speech, she started telling everyone how I'd not only ruined school for her, but I'd apparently also ruined her relationship with our father because now my dad would barely even speak to her. But she didn't even mention the incident that made him stop talking to her. So Aaron finally got up from his seat, grabbed the mic, and took it away from her. Then he caught her by the arm and started dragging her away towards the door, and my mother tried to stop it. I just stood there, rooted to the spot, because I couldn't believe that this was all happening at my wedding. There was a bit of a fuss at the exit as my bridesmaids tried to push her out, but Monica and my mother fought with them. Eventually, both my mother and Monica ended up leaving the venue, and I was so upset that I walked away and hid in the restroom. I didn't even come out until Aaron came to me and reassured me that everything would be fine, and that all the guests would judge Monica and my mother, not me. It didn't make me feel any better, but I knew that Aaron, my father, and everybody else was counting on me to stay strong, so the event didn't end on a bad note. So I went back out there and tried to put on a brave face, so everybody else could forget about this. After the thing was over and everybody went back home, I talked to my dad about this, and he told me that he was going to talk to my mother and make her apologize to me. I told him that that wouldn't be necessary because I didn't care if she apologized or not, and he seemed to understand what I meant. It's been a few days since, and my mother contacted me the day before yesterday and told me that I needed to leave my husband because apparently he was the crazy one here. She called me up a few days ago, and I picked up the call because I assumed that she was going to apologize to me, and I had a lot of things that I wanted to say to her, but as soon as I picked up, I regretted it because she wasn't apologizing. She just wanted to tell me that she believed that Aaron was crazy and that I needed to leave him and get the marriage and all day sep. Her reason was that he'd physically tried to drag Monica away, and if he could put his hands on a woman that had nothing to do with him, then he wouldn't hesitate in doing the same to me. I thought that it was a bit of a stretch to compare Monica to me, because I hadn't tried to hit on someone and make someone uncomfortable and then started playing the blame game and pretending to be the victim. That was all Monica, and Aaron wasn't going to let her ruin our wedding by making it all about herself, which is why he tried to drag her away, and even in doing so, he'd been pretty respectful of her. What Monica had said was unforgivable, and I told my mother that she should be glad that I didn't go up to her and slap her like I had all those years ago in the cafeteria. My mother started yelling at me and told me that both of us were the same, and that Aaron and I needed help if we believed that violence was the answer to everything. She said that she knew that Monica was wrong for giving that speech, and that she'd realized that she probably shouldn't have invited her without asking me first, but insisted that both my husband and I were wrong for supporting physical violence. And Monica could even sue him if she wanted to, but she wasn't out of the goodness of her heart, because she didn't want to create more trouble for us than she already had. My mother thinks that we need to apologize, but I don't understand if we should or not. To be honest, this post is more on my husband's behalf than for me. Is my husband TA for physically dragging my estranged sister away from the mic and kicking her out of the venue after she delivered a nasty speech about me at our wedding? Update 1. It's been a week since I posted here, and most of the comments agree that my husband went a little too far in manhandling her, so we decided that we're going to apologize to her for just that, but nothing else. Aaron has already crafted an apology letter that he's going to send to her personally, and I'm just hoping that this comes to an end soon. My mother's really been after me, trying to convince me to apologize to Monica for what happened at the wedding. She hasn't apologized to us yet, and neither do I hope for or expect one, because she probably doesn't even think that she did anything wrong, and her apology means nothing to me anyway. I just want my husband to apologize so our conscience remains clear, and after that, if she wants to, then she can apologize to us as well. And even if she doesn't, I'm okay with it, because like I said, her apology really means nothing to me. I know the truth and I know what kind of person she is, so I don't want to waste any more of my time thinking about her or my mother. I'm going to block my mother as soon as we're done with this because I know she's just never going to see my side of things. Ever since Monica was born, she always had a favorite. But I never imagined that she would let her bias take over to an extent where she couldn't even tell apart right from wrong. I think everybody with even half a brain would be able to tell that Monica never had any good intentions when it came to me and would think twice before inviting her to an event like a wedding, which was so important for the two of us. My mother's the one who's actually responsible for ruining everything, and yet she still feels that it's more important for Aaron and I to apologize than for Monica to apologize to us. At this point, I'm not even surprised because she always made sure that Monica never felt that she was even capable of making mistakes. To my mother, she'll always be just perfect, and I'm sick and tired of trying to live up to her crazy standards which she sets specifically for me. I always have to be the one who makes all the sacrifices and does all the forgiving, even when people, mostly Monica, aren't even sorry for what they did. I've tried to maintain a good relationship with her, in spite of her behavior, just because of my father. But now, I think my father knows that I'm done with her, and I can't do this all my life. So after we send the apology, I'm going to send a copy of it to my mother and inform her that it's done now, because she might doubt the truthfulness of what I'm saying. And then she's out of our lives. Update 2. So Aaron and I emailed the apology to Monica, and we thought that it'd be enough, and that she wouldn't drag this on, but I really underestimated exactly how much she hates me because she decided that it'd be a good idea to take a screenshot of that email and post it on her social media so she could brag about how she made us beg for forgiveness. And she put up a very haha gotcha kind of post and said that she received an apology from us, even though she was the one who crashed our wedding, and made a very humiliating speech just to insult me. It really made my blood boil, and I found myself wishing there was a way to send emails after they'd already been sent or whatever. We don't follow each other on any platform, so it was actually a cousin of mine who sent me that post to tell me that this is what was going on behind my back. It felt infuriating to know that she was using our apology against the US to insult us. Instead of going against her right away, I decided to call my mother and ask her what she felt about this. Luckily, I hadn't blocked her yet, and when I called her to ask about the post, she already had an explanation ready and told me that she was working on it and trying to convince Monica to take down that post. She tried to downplay how insulting that was by telling me that it was just her being petty, and it meant nothing. She even said that people probably hadn't even bothered to read it, so I had nothing to worry about, even as my relatives actively texted me to ask about that post, and even some folks from high school were asking about it. I told her that she had half an hour to get that post taken down, and if she couldn't do it, then I would have to take matters into my own hands, and it wouldn't be nice. I had a lot more dirt on Monica than my mother could even imagine, and I knew certain things about her that I hadn't even mentioned in my post. If I put all that out on social media, then nobody would ever be able to see Monica the same way again. So if my mother didn't get Monica to take down that post, then things could get really ugly for her, and I didn't want to get into all of that drama either. So it would be in her best interest to take it down and hope that I wasn't feeling petty or vengeful. My mother promised me that she'd get it done, but almost an hour passed, and the post still stayed up. So Aaron and I decided that it was time to finally expose Monica. There was obviously the truth about how Monica had tried to hit on and come on to Aaron at the Thanksgiving party. And then, there was the truth about the Chris incident. But there was also another thing that I didn't mention in my post, because it wasn't exactly relevant there. But this time I decided to go all out and talk about how Monica had an affair with her best friend's husband a couple of years ago. Hardly anybody knows about it because she and that guy had done a really good job of hushing people and keeping it all really secretive. And of course, her best friend didn't want any of this news getting out because it was embarrassing for her. So she didn't tell many people about it either. But I knew all about it, even though Monica didn't want me to. Her best friend also went to high school with Estranged and made the mistake of confiding in a couple of her close friends. And one of those close friends talked to me about it, because after all, it involved my sister too. I hadn't told a soul about this affair that Monica had been a part of, out of respect for her ex-best friend. But now I don't care anymore. I went public with it to make sure that everybody from our high school got to know what kind of person Monica was. And the best part about all of this was that I didn't even have to resort to lies or half-truths like Monica. Everything that I said about her was 100% true. The likes started pouring in as soon as I posted it, because Monica had been pretty popular in high school and through college. People were pretty scandalized and interested to know about that affair, and also how Monica had tried to hit on my husband. Everyone knew that Monica had a cruel streak in her, and my post was just proof that this wasn't anything new and that she'd just always been this way. My mother's encouragement only made her worse. After putting up that post, Aaron and I finally felt a little better because we'd done enough to get back at her. I didn't want to entertain any calls or texts from friends or relatives, and mostly my mother. So I switched my phone off, and so did he. We decided not to look at our phones or any other electronic device for the next couple of hours and went out for a walk instead. So once we came back home, we started packing for our honeymoon, which we were supposed to leave for in a few days. By the time we finally got back to our phones, it was almost midnight. As soon as I turned it on, I almost had to shut it off again because there was just notification after notification from literally everyone I knew. I decided to check my mom's messages first, and unsurprisingly, she was on Monica's side and was telling me that I'd taken things too far by talking about that affair, which Monica really regretted. She told me that Monica was very upset and couldn't stop crying when she talked to her, as if that was supposed to make me feel bad for her. I really didn't, especially not after what she put me through. I didn't reply to my mother and went on to check the comments on my post, which were all against Monica, and that made me feel really vindicated. It's been one day since I put up that post, and by now, pretty much all of my family and my entire high school population from when I was there has seen that post and has had something to say about Monica. I don't even feel bad about it, because it was always her trying to get under my skin, and I always tried to ignore her. But this time she deserves this. I know. So now the post is going to stay up for as long as I want, and no matter how much she cries about it, I'm not taking it down, and neither am I going to feel sorry about what I do. Update 3. Hi guys. It's been 2 weeks since I put up that post, and I took it down yesterday because I think it's reached its target audience and I don't want it on my feed anymore. I blocked my mother and Monica a few days after that post because I really didn't want them to have any access to me. Like, not even one bit. They've proved to me, time and again, that they don't deserve to be around me or even breathe the same air as me. My dad is completely on my side about this and thinks that I did the right thing, even if I had to expose Monica's ex-best friend for it. I didn't name her, so nobody really knows apart from the people who already knew who her best friend was. And that was pretty much our entire high school, because the two of them had been quite thick ever since they were in their freshman year. But at least I didn't name her, so that's some consolation for both of us. And even if I did end up inadvertently exposing her, even that girl had been really mean to me because of Monica back then. So I don't feel particularly sorry about it. Aaron and I are finally enjoying our honeymoon, and the only reason that I even remembered to post an update was because somebody DM'd me, asking about what became of Chris. And I realized that I'd forgotten to tell you guys that we're still friends. He wasn't able to attend my wedding, unfortunately, because he was really down with a stomach flu. But we might meet in the next couple of weeks. And when we do, I'm going to make sure that I take a picture of us and post it for Monica to see. Also, my dad has been talking to me about my mother's irrational behavior when it comes to Monica, and asked me if he should think about couples counseling or just straight up divorce. I was surprised to learn that my father was considering getting divorced from my mom after all these years that they'd spent together. But he told me that he just wasn't feeling it anymore, and it was becoming more difficult for him to deal with my mom every day because of how weird she was acting. She had even tried to talk him into disinheriting me and leaving all their property and money to Monica, because apparently I needed to be taught a lesson about family loyalty. My dad had to fight really hard for me, and he says that he's just absolutely emotionally drained, trying to keep up with my mother. He said he's too old for this and needs a break, and honestly, I agree. I know that my mother can't be an easy person to live with. I didn't tell him what to do, but I told him that I would support him, regardless of what decision he makes. Even if he chooses to stay with my mom, I wouldn't mind it because that's what brings him joy. As long as he's happy, I'm happy. That being said, I really do hope they look into couples counseling, at the very least, because my mother definitely could do with therapy. In fact, I think therapy would do a world of good to both my mother and my sister,